Madera friends, welcome back to another episode. I'm super excited about today. We have a special guest with us. We have the Chief Operations Officer of Quext visiting with us. He is Mr. Brent Jameson. So I'm going to welcome you in. Thank you so much for being here. We're going to jump into kind of the operations and all the stuff that you get to do. But again, I just want to thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad you had me.
Very cool, very cool. So what I want to do, and we do this with every guest, is we want to do some introductions, give people a chance to see that, you know, like you're a real person and you have real hobbies and interests and you have a history and all those types of things. So just tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of where you came from, maybe how you got to the Madera Companies. Yeah,
I think, you know, it's kind of an interesting story how I got here, but I'll start with, so I grew up in Borger, which is a small town in the Panhandle near Amarillo. After graduating, got a computer science degree, moved to Midland. Okay. Midland was my first job. I was a application developer. I eventually moved into system design and engineering. That was back in the local area network days. So for those who are younger, that would have been in the 80s, you know, mid 80s. Mm-hmm. And so that led to doing network design and so forth, led to a new job in Santa Fe, New Mexico. So I enjoyed Santa Fe quite a bit. That job was, you know, doing conversion from a System 36 to a local area network, and I was there 18 years. I thought I was just going to be there for that job, and I was there 18 years. 3 years into that, I met my wife. Actually, met her here in Lubbock. She went to LCU. She graduated. She was teaching. She was in her second year of teaching, and I came down here to see a friend, and met her on a blind date. And we were engaged shortly thereafter, and a year later we were married, and she moved up to Santa Fe. And so both of our kids, we have a boy and a girl, both born in Santa Fe. Our son now is 27. He lives in Tempe. He went to ASU, and then now he works for Carvana. So
I did not know that he went to ASU. I have an ASU
Is that
degree.
Right?
Look at
Is
that.
Right?
I'm excited about that now.
So he still loves it there, and loves his job. My daughter went to Tech, and she did her graduate work here, and then she got her clinical dietitian degree, cool. And so she's actually a clinical dietitian at UMC in the burn unit.
Wow! So
she loves it here. In fact, she just got married this year, so it's been a busy year.
I'd say congratulations.
Yes,
if you like the guy, congratulations.
Yeah, we like the guy.
Okay, good.
Yeah, he's a good guy. So how did I get here? So we started I left Santa Fe to go to me and three other guys started a consulting company. And it was around business process improvement and strategy design and so forth. And we moved to Tempe, Arizona. We grew the company. Eventually in 2012, we sold that company to a publicly traded company. They required us to stay on for 3 years, which we did. And then I stayed on actually until the end of 2019. Well, in 2013, I was doing a lot of overseas travel. They wanted me to go over to Dubai and set up a new office. And so I went over, and then Leah eventually joined me, and we lived there. So when it was time to come back, we just trying to figure out where to go, and being a consultant, you could live anywhere, right? Yeah. So as long as you're near an airport.
Yeah.
And so we thought, well, we wanted to be in a big city, we thought, but we decided on Lubbock because our daughter received a pole vault scholarship to Tech. So we thought, well, let's go to Lubbock, we'll watch her compete, and then when she graduates, we'll move wherever. Well, she graduated, a few years ago, and we don't have any intention to go anywhere, so anyway, so that's how we got to Lubbock. How I got to Madera in 2015, which is January 2015 is when we landed in Lubbock. I knew I wanted to do something else. I wanted to get my entrepreneurial blood was, I wasn't satisfying that that need, and so we started investing in single-family rentals. And so we built over the next few years, we built a fairly decent portfolio. In 2017, 2018, we started looking at buying apartments. And so I was talking to a friend, James Pipkin, who actually does syndication for Madera. And he suggested I talk to Dave and Charlie.
Oh,
and
wow.
He said, hey, if you want to know about apartments, you should talk to these guys. And so I said, okay. So Dave had lunch with me one day. And we talked about, kind of the process, if you will. And so I found a property I thought was a good one, did some underwriting on it, and then they said, well, why don't you bring it when you get a deal, when you think you got a deal, bring it to us and we'll review it with you. So Dave and Charlie met in this building, actually, in the conference room with Dave and Charlie, and they reviewed these numbers with me, and they gave me some pointers what to watch for and so forth. But at that time, I knew, yes, there's something different about Madera. And, you know, these guys would take their time out of their day. They don't know me from Adam, you know, at least at that time, and would spend time, you know, helping me, and it was, you know, so I knew this was something special, right? So in any case, I continued on with my single family. We continued to look for apartments. Never actually bought one or found one that kind of fit. But the job I had, the consulting job, really wanted me to start traveling more overseas. I was 260,000 miles the previous year, and it was going to go up over 300,000.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot of air miles.
Yeah.
So I was, I thought, this time to get off the road. So. Again, talking to James Pipkin, he said, hey, they're starting something. I was talking that you should call Dave. They're starting something. They have like this digital assistant or digital leasing agent, and he said, Dave said, they're trying to get this off the ground. You should talk to him. So I called up Dave, and he said, yeah, let's get together. So anyway, that was late 2019, early 2020. And by May of 2020, they had, we had come to an agreement, and they hired me to work for Quext. So that's how it's a long story, but that's how I got to Quext.
Yeah, no, I always love seeing kind of the journey. You mentioned something in the way you were talking about Dave and Charlie, that there was something different, and I think I've got a chance to experience a lot of that as well, and kind of seeing as I moved into this industry, like, okay, there is something different, and you see these guys and the values that they kind of live by. And we talked about this in the first season. Dave did extensively with Christ, community, and then constant improvement. How have you connected with those values?
Yeah, it's as a Christian, it's there's a certain amount of hope and with that peace, right? So I think if you take that, and the way I've always tried to live anyway, is you take that and you apply it to your job and what you do on a day-to-day basis, it kind of gives you some perspective, right? And so as the days come, which they all do, that make you feel like you want to run around with your hair on fire, it helps you put those things in perspective.
Yeah.
And so I think as I look around the organization here, it's very aligned to that. People are, everybody has their day, but there's still a perspective. I mean, you could sense that the organization has a perspective about what's really important and what's okay. These things will pass, kind of things, right? So I think that's a big part of it. I think the community piece is a I look at community in a couple of different ways, right? With us, it's the internal community of our team, and I'll talk about the team later. But I mean, it's an awesome group of people that I get to work with, and being over operations, that means I get to work with a lot of different groups, right? Yeah. And so that it creates some, working across the line, so to speak, that a lot of people don't get to see or do, which I really appreciate. But it's also the community of our customers, right? Yeah. It's the properties and the people that work at those properties so hard, and all the things that they do, and the residents themselves, and because we're trying to develop tools and systems and processes that allow them to either from a property perspective have a better do a better job and be more effective at what they do, and the residents hopefully have better solutions to things that they need.
Right.
So and then the CANEI, I think, is really a big part, because it really aligns to, that's what I did really for consulting for 15 years was CANEI. We called it Kaizen, which I don't know if you're familiar. Kaizen is it's a methodology using Lean and Six Sigma. Okay. But Kaizen is a Japanese word, stands for, which means continuous improvement.
Wow. Okay.
So that's what I mean. I ran Kaizen events for years.
Yeah.
So I think in a continuous improvement. So it was all those things align very well to my experiences and what I try to do with my teams.
Yeah, no, I like it. Again, it's interesting how journeys come together and how fits start to work together, especially when you find chemistry with people. You mentioned this a little bit ago, and I think we all know in the Madera Companies, like Quext is this kind of up and coming startup. It is this, everybody's super excited about all the cool things that might come and can come, even though we've got a lot of products underway. Like we're excited about what's coming. what's it like being the operations guy for a startup company?
Yeah. It's it's a thrill, actually. I mean, again, I think it takes, in a startup, it takes a little bit of different kind of personality, right? So if you look at the team that we have, myself included, you have to be, in a startup, you have to be okay with the unknown.
Sure.
You have to be okay with, hey, here's our plan, but you know what? This plan could very well not happen. We could have to change directions, and sometimes rather quickly.
Yeah.
And we have a team that is able to make that shift on a dime. I mean, now sometimes it's difficult. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It's not always easy, but you have to be okay with that. And so in a startup, you have to, so being flexible is super important. Having drive, understanding what your goals are, right? And so our goals are obviously getting products out there that can truly help the properties, the assets, the owners, so that they have a more efficient operation, so that they're generating greater net operating income, and that the property staff, they have the ability to do their job in a better way, so that they could spend more time focusing on the residents and of course the residents themselves. So it's all those things that they're driving to those kind of answers, if you will, for the property. So I think if we can focus on those and we can do those things, I think we'll be successful.
Yeah.
But that's the fun part, I think.
Yeah.
It's being able to say, hey, this is what we're shooting for. This is our goal, but we may have to take 14 different directions to get there, or 14 different paths to get there. So.
Yeah. It's interesting. You use the word success, successful successes. Like, let's talk about that for a second. Like, where are you guys finding some success right now? And then conversely, if you want to kind of talk about it a little bit, what are some of the challenges that you guys are facing?
Yeah. Success is certainly, from a product perspective, we've got Connect is installed in thousands of doors. We've got IoT is launching. We've just completed the beta. I mean, we've had a very long beta with IoT, our smart technology. It is, we're starting actually on the 8th or 9th. We're going to be installing our next property with IoT. So that's moving along well. I think, we have some really good positive things going with some potential partnerships to help us move the product and open up doors for us. We have, the Digital Human and website in terms of where they're at, and they're just right on the cusp of being able to be installed in, third-party, non-Madera kind of properties. So all those, I think, are great successes. The team that's been built, I think I would call a success. The challenges are also the team, in that there's so much to be done. We're building a company that has multiple companies underneath it, right?
Yeah.
We have all of these lines of business are, in essence, can operate and eventually will operate as their own business. And so to staff for all of that, and to be able to afford to staff for that while you're still trying to build it's difficult, right? That's a challenge. The products that still aren't off the ground yet, property management, software, Quext PM, and that kind of thing, those they take time and they take resources. And so it's that creates a challenge, for everybody, from the partners. Hey, we need to move as fast as we can move, and the reality of what we're able to work within, if you will, right, and what we can get done. So those create some challenges, but again, I think the team is doing an awesome job of kind of working their way through that and finding successes where they can find successes.
Yeah, you mentioned something that it kind of got me thinking a little bit with the way that you phrase things. But you want to do a few things really, really well to get them up and going, rather than doing so many things like kind of halfway.
Right.
And so hitting those kind of in short order, and kind of go, okay, we're going to do this well and this well and this well, and then once we kind of get that up and going, then we'll start to add some other things like property management. But there's few other things you guys are thinking about beyond even property management. Tell me a little bit about some of the products that you guys have kind of on the horizon, the things that you're at least dreaming of.
So certainly, if you look at our existing products, it's, the things that we're dreaming of, or the things that we're road mapping, if you will, are, if it's on the IoT space, it's things like adding new product, new devices, if you will. So We've got locks and thermostats. We need leak detection.
Yeah.
We need to be able to control lights. We need to be able, there's various things that we need to be able to do, not just because the property and the residents need them, and want them, but to be competitive. You have to have some of these things. And it's just other capabilities in terms of the system itself, its reporting capabilities and so forth. On the other products like Connect, it's adding IT services. It's adding it's like value add kind of things. What can I do that add value to this existing product? Now, new products, digital onboarding would be one that we're actively working on, or just starting actually. So imagine somebody being able to get online and find a property they like, within that property find a unit they like, to be able to, in essence, reserve it, to go through an approval process, to get approved, qualified, et cetera, for that property, even get credentialed, get your keys, if you will, electronic key, to be able to move into that unit at the appropriate time, right? All without talking to a live agent, or all without talking to live property staff. And so what that does is it creates, number one, a better solution for the applicant. So it's seamless. They can do it at 2 a.m. if that's when they have available, right? It helps the property staff, because now, again, that takes a lot of time to do that, to go through those activities. But if we can give them a little bit more time back, so that they could focus again on those things that really build up the community and help the residents with things they need, that's what we want them to focus on. So.
Yeah, I really like that. I think there's a few things there, and every now and then I feel like we need to remind people that not everybody works an 8 to 5 job, or a 9 to 6 job, and so having those options throughout the evening and even later, maybe even like you said, early morning, to be able to get into apartments and do all the things you need to do, that is massive in our world today. The flexibility we're offering people. And then also, like you said, I've been on property at least a little bit, so getting a chance to see that, man, they are living in the urgent all the time, and constantly moving.
They are hardworking folks out there.
Yes, they are amazing. But I think, like you said, allowing through these other products an opportunity for our on-site staffs to be able to do more, care for more people, keeps occupancy up. It keeps our numbers up. It keeps finances going where they need to be. I think that's pretty great. You've mentioned, we'll switch gears here for a second. You've mentioned your team a little bit, kind of the things you guys are doing. We always want to champion the people we work with, because that's what makes everything go. And so tell us about your teams and the things that they're doing and what makes them special.
Yeah. So I'll forego naming names, just because it's a big team and I don't want to leave anybody out. So suffice it to say that the team, the team that we have is they're exceptionally smart. They're driven. They work together really well. It's one of those things where you don't. When you come into work, sometimes you walk in and you're like, what's this day going to be like? And it's not like that. It's just, you know what to expect when you come in, because it's just, everybody really gets along well, and they just do awesome work. So the team, in this environment, because it is multiple companies, if you will, within Quext, it sometimes can feel like silos, right? Where you have, the IoT team over here doing this, and Connect, and they're very focused on the things that they need to get done.
Sure.
And they don't always have an opportunity to work together. And so we're working on ways to kind of bridge some of those cross communication gaps that we have, so that people can communicate more. We've started it at a leadership level, and we're looking at ways that we can drive that down to where we could have more people working together. But we try as much as we can to get everybody working together, because they do get along well. And it's and I think the team, if you talk to any of the team, and I know you've talked to some already, I think the passion, you can see the passion that they have for the things they do, right? And so that just makes the job that much better, right?
Yeah.
So it's a great group of guys and gals.
So I got a question for you here, and I'll be honest, maybe this makes the cut, maybe this one doesn't, but I didn't prep you for it. But I want to tap into your consultant background for a moment as you talk about your teams and stuff. How would you advise teams to build camaraderie? I think I know that's stuff you've done in the past, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on that because, like you said, we're 5 companies with, even inside the same company, multiple departments, and if at some point maybe even multiple companies within a company. So when we talk about building camaraderie amongst these types of things, what are some of the pieces of advice you might have for us about doing that?
There's been various ways tried over the years and decades that companies have, they've jumped through many hoops to try to get camaraderie, and whether that be the pizza party on Tuesday night or Friday night, as the case may be, or what other activities outside of work. And that certainly does, when you can build a relationship at a personal level with somebody, that always helps understand kind of where they're coming from, and so that helps build some of that camaraderie. I think the other part that is usually missed, though, is finding opportunities where people can work together that don't normally work together, because when you get into the trenches with somebody and you work through a challenge and you're able to solve that together, I think that builds even closer relationships, because now you've kind of gone to war with somebody and gone to battle, if you will, and you've come out successful on the other side, and those relationships tend to hold tight pretty long. So again, it's one of those things where we have to find ways, because we do have these different groups, where we can find ways to get these groups together, and even if it's just pieces of those groups together at times, to eventually kind of build up something pretty cool.
Yeah, I like the multi-pronged approach that you talked about there, the relationship building, but then also the shared mission opportunities. Right. Brent, I just want to thank you so much for coming on, being a part of this, sharing your thoughts and all the things, cool things that are going on with Quext. We're excited to get to put this out and put this out for people to get a chance to see. So thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely, thanks.
Madera friends, hey, we'll have another podcast for you next week. We're going to continue to look through the different things that are going on with the Madera Companies and all the stuff that's happening. And so you guys have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you later.